Welcome back to another episode of 25 Days of Christmas Stories. And for today's episode, I'll be telling you about all the ministries of Jesus and what he did throughout his life here. Ever since Jesus was born into this world, he had been working to bring God's will on earth. And over his lifetime, Jesus performed several miracles. Jesus never did this to show off or to get attention, but he performed this miracle so people would believe in him. And this was the message that Jesus was trying to pass on to us. So I will begin with the first story. One day, Jesus and his mother, Mary, were invited to a wedding in the village of Canaan. And it was a grand wedding with hundreds of guests and a grand feast for everybody. The main drink served in those days was wine. And unfortunately, during the celebration, the wine ran out. And Mary felt bad for the bride and the groom. So she called on Jesus with the hope that he could do something to help. But Jesus needed Mary to understand that he was subject to God's authority and not hers, and that all things would be done according to his will and timing. So he told Mary that his hour had not come. And with humility, Mary accepted his words. There were 6 large stone jars nearby that were mostly empty. So Jesus instructed the servants to fill up the jars with water, and they did. And then Jesus asked them to take some out and serve it to the host of the party. But the servants were a little hesitant to serve water to the host, but they still obeyed Jesus. The host of the wedding took a sip of the water, and to the surprise of the servants said that it was the finest cup of wine that they ever had. And that was Jesus' first miracle. Jesus had turned ordinary water into the finest cup of wine. On another day, Jesus came to a man who had leprosy. And because of this disease, the man was considered unclean. And no one wanted to be around him. And there were rules that he couldn't be touched. So the man begged for Jesus to make him clean. Jesus looked at the man with kindness and compassion. "Be clean," Jesus said, and touched the man, something which no one else would have ever done. And immediately the man's leprosy was gone and he was healed. During Jesus' ministry, he did more than just heal people. He also fed thousands of people and he preached to people everywhere he went. And one day, while Jesus was far away from his disciples, he received news that one of his friends, Lazarus, had become very sick. Mary and Martha were hoping that he would come back and heal Lazarus, but Jesus decided not to go. And 2 days later, more news came that Lazarus had died. Jesus was very sad, but he told the disciples that Lazarus was just asleep. But the disciples could not understand what Jesus was saying. And in the end, they went to Lazarus' house. And when he arrived at the house, Jesus learned that he had been dead for 4 days. And Jesus went with the crowds of people to Lazarus' tomb. And he was going to show them that with God, anything was possible. So Jesus went, stood in front of the tomb, and commanded the rock that is in front of the tomb to move away. Jesus told them to believe and they will be able to see the glory of God. Jesus prayed to God and shouted, "Lazarus, come out!" And then Lazarus came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. And all because of these great wonders, the disciples and many others came to know Jesus as more than just their master, but also as the long-awaited Savior of the world. Jesus had complete authority over everything, death, sickness, and even sin. And there's nothing that could stand against him. Stick around for the next episode tomorrow. Bye!